And we're on. My name is Karen Lewis.
And I'm Kristen Bergen.
And I advise environmental engineers for the class of 2023. And Kristen does the civil engineers. And one of the reasons why we decided to kind of join this as a joint webinar was because civil and environmental are actually within the same department. And as we're going to go into the curriculum a little bit, you're going to see that there's a lot of overlap with the courses that you're going to be taking, especially in the first semester. So we thought it would be a great opportunity for you guys to meet other people outside of your major, but within your department. And we're just basically going to start by going into the templates, and then we're going to start talking about a little bit of course planning. And like Kristen said, there's a chat column in the side that you can post any questions that you have, and we're going to handle them all in the end. And like we said, thanks for joining us this evening, okay?
Awesome. So I'm just going to awkwardly tilt it my way just a little bit, and we're going to jump into the guides, which hopefully you are really familiar with at this point. Do you want to see if that's what's there? So if you look, I'm doing a split screen right now.
Share.
Oh, hold on. No, I'm not. You can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now you guys should be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm doing a split screen with the environmental and the civil engineering guides. Part of this is because these really, really mirror each other. So as you go through, you see the same stuff. So I just kind of want to have that reflection so you can kind of see where the differences are, right? So you got Karen and me as the advisors. We're going to talk about curriculum planning. You got major templates that you really need to pay attention to. Please go in and read all of this information very carefully. These videos are really, useful in terms of figuring out how to understand the major templates. And the first section that we're going to kind of pause on is this one right here, which is your schedule for fall 2019. This and this are the expectations of what you should be registering for the fall. Of course, this is dependent upon APs, which Karen will talk about more in a second. I just really want to point out these videos. They are about 10 minutes each, I believe, and they are really slam-packed with all the nuances of your curriculum. Watch those videos, and yes, we are here, so if you watch them and you have questions, please don't hesitate to email us to ask the questions that you might have. Tonight is really about being able to ask the questions that you have so far. All right, so with that being said, we're going to open up your major templates. We're going to do a split screen again, and Karen's going to talk about the environmental on this side and the civil that is on this side.
Okay. So as I mentioned before about that overlap between the two majors, you're going to look and see the recommended courses for environmental engineers for the first semester are Chemistry 1, Calculus 1, Intro to Engineering Analysis, which is also known as IEA here, and Engineering Graphics for Civil Engineers, which is also Civil CAD as it's referred to by the students. And also on the bottom here is an IHSS HOS elective. So if we come over to civil side, you're going to see the same exact sequencing, just in different order, with chemistry, civil CAD, again, IEA, calculus, and that HOS class. So basically, the difference between the two isn't really anything for that first semester. The only differences that you're going to encounter are if you have AP or transfer credits. And we're going to go into that a little bit more in depth with different what-if scenarios in a little bit. But for now, I also want to point out to you that for civil engineers, the overlap between the civil and the environmental department can actually go deeper than just your civil courses, because civil offers a concentration in environmental engineering. So that's kind of a big picture statement that if you do like environmental stuff, there is a concentration in civil, and you will be getting involved with more environmental faculty members and stuff going forward if you choose that path. So these are also, as Kristen mentioned, they're in your guide, and these are an integral tool in planning your courses. So I want you to look at these in depth, and if you have questions regarding your curriculum planning, of course, if you can't navigate it yourself, reach out to Kristen or myself, depending on your major, and we're happy to walk you through the process. We also wanted to mention that registration time tickets are going to be issued on Monday. So that time ticket is going to give you the specific date and time that registration opens for you in order for you to register for your fall classes. And I believe registration itself is going to be sometime time dependent on the 24th of June. So make sure you check your RPI email because that's where it's going to be sent. It's not being sent to your personal email. So we want to make sure that you check your email, you get your time ticket, and if by like middle of next week you still don't have a time ticket, I want you to reach out to Kristen or myself because we will get that situation handled for you.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
Okay, these sheets are also included in your registration guide, and these are the planning sheets. So we have different scenarios for AP credits, and we help you navigate what those situations would be. So for example, Chemistry 1100 is required by both curriculum, civil and environmental. So if you have chemistry credit, we advise you to seek out another science course. Now, for environmentals, you have the choice between physics and biology. And for civils, we would likely recommend physics because biology is not a required course. So how to navigate that situation is listed here, and we would want you to refer to this guide for any of those sequencing. Calculus 1, obviously move on to Calculus 2. So this is all, listed in this parameter here. And basically what we're going to do going forward is Kristen is going to basically bring you back to the guide to show you all of these details and also how to build a schedule and logistically register for your classes.
And since Karen just kind of showed you guys that you're really kind of headed for the same courses in the first semester, I'm just going to open up one of these registration guides for the rest of this, just so we can zoom in a little more. So section 3 is about AP, IB, or other transfer credits. If that's you, please pay really close attention to this guide. It gives you a lot of information, especially this video of how to kind of make decisions about your fall semester. Going through a little bit more, your general education at Rensselaer is the humanities, arts, and social science. I'm going to get into this a little bit more too when we do our mock schedule, but this video is great. It was made by one of our colleagues that can kind of walk you through your requirements and expectations there. The how to register section, this is really important because you're going to be doing this in a couple weeks. These are the 4 steps. So set up your student information system, create a mock schedule in Yaks, clear financial agreement hold, register for courses with SIS. Of course, we have all the expectation in the world that you have no idea what I just said, which is why we've created this guide. So each step is explained a little bit more in depth in this section, how to set up your SIS account, and then, of course, we have Yaks here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly go to Yaks. We're going to build this mock schedule. This video also goes over that again, so if you want more or a different example, please check that out. But let's go to Yaks. All right, so this is what Yaks looks like. You can kind of see all the sections of courses here. So for you guys, this section, the Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences is really important, and the School of Engineering, of course, is really important. And then, of course, for your science and math requirements, you can find them in here as well. We're going to start with that. So we're going to start with your math and science requirements. So we know that chemistry is a course that you would want to plan to take. So if we click on chemistry, we come here. Oh, hold on. Let me quickly clear the schedule that I was playing with earlier today. Let me go back to Yaks. All right, so we're going to click on chemistry. So we can see chemistry as a section. So chemistry 1 is what you're going to be doing this fall. If I click the top here, all of this is selected below. And if we look across at the information, these numbers here are the section of the course. The number that starts with an 8 here is the CRN, and I'm going to mention the CRN a few times. Then you have the faculty, you have the number of seats, and then the days and times that the classes are. So we got chemistry that we know we're going to take. I've clicked it, so that means that is selected and saved. I'll go back to the main page where we can go look at mathematics. Calculus 1 right here at the top, if you scroll down, Calculus 2, and all the other types of math that we have on campus. So I'm going to click the title of Calculus 1, again, selecting all the sections of Calculus 1 in the fall. Also, please don't worry about these 0 seats. They're still updating the classes for you guys to register. They have kind of a strategic seat release for each of the time tickets. You can still plan based on this information, though. All right, so if we go over to the schedule, we are going to see that Calculus 1 and Chemistry have now been added. We can also see that we have 166 options with these 2 classes, and when you click through, you begin to see why Yaks is so amazing. Another way to search is using the search bar here. So we have some engineering courses we know we need to take, and if we look at the template, we know exactly what those numbers are. So ENGR is engineering, and then 1100, and if you're not quite sure where I pulled that information from, let me grab a template really quickly, and you can kind of see engineering 1100. So you can use that number there, right here, hit enter, and that class is going to come up. So we're going to click on Introduction to Engineering Analysis. That course is now selected, and we're going to do the same with our Civil Graphics and CAD class.
I just want to mention, too, I don't know if I did before, but engineering graphics for civil engineers is only offered in the fall. I don't know if I emphasized that before. So we do want that to be on your schedule, if at all possible, for the upcoming fall semester.
Yes, and as you can see, there's only one section of it, so pretty important to fit that in. All right, so clicked on that. So if we go over to schedule, we should see all 4 of those classes now. And if we come down, we'll see that they're even sitting here. So if we want to start to mess around with sections, because 770 is quite a lot, we can come in and just say, you know, none of these look appealing to me, none of these look appealing to me. You can unselect courses, right? If you have to, if you're an athlete and you have to be done in a certain time, that's one way that you could kind of limit your options. Okay, and as promised, I'm going to go back to our Haas courses, right? So this is Haas. These are all the sections and the areas that you can select from. But a big part of your Haas requirement is called the Haas Pathways, which Karen is about to post a link for, and I'm going to go there myself. I just have to remember where I put it. Here is where I put it. Okay. So the pathways topics are here. If you scroll down, you're going to see a ton of options. So I believe there's over 40 pathways that you can choose from, depending upon your interests. We know that the sustainability major is pretty... So the sustainability might be really interesting to a lot of you in civil and environmental. So this is how you can find that information. And if you look here, these are the first courses you need to take to start that pathway. So we have Nature and Society, Sustainability Debates, A Century of Environmental Thought, Science, Technology, and Society. You see these little CI and HI. So that's communication intensive, and this is Haas inquiry. Watch that video and go back to the registration guide for more information on what those mean. But to put it simply, the fact that these are all communication intensive is something you're going to be really happy about in the future. So these are great options. So I'm going to grab this Nature and Societies course, and I'm going to go back to the Yaks schedule that we started building together. I'm going to plug it in. So there we see we've got Nature and Society. We see that there's one section of that course, which is another reason why we say have a plan A, B, C, D. If you go back to that Pathways website, you had 4 different courses that can start that pathway. So those are your plans. All right, when we come back in here, we're now down to 207 options. So that is for you to go through and click and start thinking about how you want your days to look, right? Do you want a lunch break? Do you want to get through it? Do you want to stop at a certain time of the day? Are you a morning person, really need your classes up front? This is how you can kind of figure out what works best for you. And it's up to you. This is one of the big differences between high school and college. You are picking how this looks. And of course, you know, you might not get the ideal schedule for the first couple of semesters, such as life, but you do have a lot of control over what's happening, and we're here to help you kind of narrow it down if you find that overwhelming. Okay, so I've kind of gone through the mock schedule. So now that we have this, these are the CRNs again. Remember, CRN, the number that starts with an 8 here, these are the numbers that you need in order to actually register for the courses and the schedule that you have just picked. So I'm going to open up this PowerPoint. This PowerPoint is one of our lovely students here on campus helped us put this together, because what we see when we log into this is very different than what you see. Again, the registration guide can give you much more detailed information on how you're going to log in and get yourself set up. But basically, you're going to need to know your RIN. So that's kind of your ID number here at RPI, and everyone across campus will always ask you for that number. And to start, your birthday is going to be the PIN number. All right, so once you log in, this is what you see. We're going to go to the student menu. We're going to go to register, add, or drop. You can see in the middle of the screen there. Making sure that we're registering for fall 2019. And then this is where we're going to put in that row of CRNs right across the screen. There's an example of one CRN being put in. Submit changes, and this is what it'll look like when you've successfully registered for a course. If anything comes up on the screen that basically tells you that it's not successful, first of all, you can always reach out to the registrar's office, which I'll show you their email address in a second, or you can reach out to your advisor. Both resources are here to help you out with that. All right, once you build your schedule. Sorry, I totally forgot where I was going with that. We want to double check that the courses that you think you registered for are showing up on your schedule. It's always good to double check all the time with everything in life. So if you click on that, you're going to want to make sure you put in a date for September, because if you put in a date for tomorrow, it's going to show you that you have no class. So you could put in September 4th, 2019, and it should show you something that looks exactly like what you have on Yaks, except in a different color tone. Have a look at that schedule. You can kind of see, you know, we know these numbers now, right? The course numbers, we know the CRNs. Back then it was a 4 rather than an 8. We can see the class time. We can see where the class is located. Really useful to have these block schedules, because then you can also kind of come in here and, you know, say, all right, this is when I'm going to have breakfast. This is when I'm going to have lunch, and start to really build a time management schedule for your week as well, because it'll be a lot more open than when you were in high school. All right, so a couple things that we really want to keep in mind, and we know it's cut off, so Karen's going to help me type out the information that you can't see. You want to put in all the CRNs that you can at the same time. It simplifies the process a lot for you. And there's 2 classes, biology and physics, that you really need to have 2 classes entered in. It actually won't let you register for them unless both of these are in there. And biology and physics are both classes that you could potentially be taking in your fall semester, depending upon your goals and what you're coming in with transfer credits. So with biology, you're going to need the biology 1010 and the lab, which is biology 1015. For physics, it's the physics 1100, and then there's a mentoring session. Sorry, that is physics 1960, and Karen is typing that in for you right now. Other than that, you want to also keep in mind, which is something we say in the guide, and hopefully we'll say it a few times right now, which is Yaks is not live on the day of registration. There is actually a lag between SIS and Yaks, which means something that you think is open might not actually be. So I'm going to go back to the guide to show you an example of what you should do with your screens. Let me make sure that I pick the one. There we go. So if you come down just a little bit more, you'll see this image here. If you put Yaks on one side of your screen and SIS on the other and look at the classes at the same time, you'll really kind of be able to see where you're at in seats and what your options still are. So as you're getting closer to your time ticket, you could even cross off the classes that you're no longer going to be able to register for. Again, super normal thing. You get used to it, and if anything overwhelms you, you have advisors to walk you through that. Okay, so that is how you register for classes. Going back to the guide, I just want to run you through the remaining sections and kind of let you know why they're important. So, of course, this is a video that will walk you through what I just said. And then down here, we have other useful resources. So you'll see, you'll get links to the college catalog, handbooks, to Yaks, and the academic calendar. So this is where you can find out about, deadlines for academics. It's also where you're going to find out about breaks, which is kind of fun, right? So you know when you get to go home for Thanksgiving. The acronym dictionary is super useful because we are one of those campuses that have hundreds and hundreds of acronyms, and never feel like you need to remember them all, because I certainly don't know them all, and I've been here for a few years. If you want to start engaging with us, we do have social media. This is where we post a lot of the deadlines and updates from the hub and articles from industry. So it's a nice way to kind of keep in touch. And then at the very bottom, and of course this is me, you could book an appointment with me, you can call me, email me, and if you're in the environmental one, you're going to see the exact same information from Karen. So you can call her, book an appointment with her, email her. Okay, so now we're going to open it up for questions. So Karen and I are going to kind of switch places if I can figure out where this went. I'm going to stop staring at my screen. So Karen's going to do the answering, and I'm going to do the typing or reading the chat. So if you have questions, please start asking them now.
All right. Come on, guys. Don't hold back.
And we will give you time because we know it takes a second to type or even to think about everything you just heard.
It's a lot of information to process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can start to hear an echo.
So the most important thing, I'm just going to talk about registration while we're waiting. If you have any questions, just come up with Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D, as Kristen said, because the chances of you getting the first sequence of courses that you choose in the first round is kind of low. Your time tickets do improve as you progress through RPI, so there is hope by junior and senior year, but just want to give you a heads up that it's always good to have backup plans, and that's how we advise as well. Let's see what else. What else can we talk about? Oh, the other thing that was important to mention, and Kristen touched on this briefly, but one of the hiccups that you might have during registration has to do with clearing the financial hold. We want to make sure that when you log into SIS, on the student menu, you actually go and click on financial agreement. And what that means is basically you telling RPI that you're going to pay your bill. And you're required to do that every semester prior to registration. So if you do go through the registration process and it says that you have a hold on your account, that's the messaging telling you you need to clear the financial hold. Okay. Well, I'm assuming there's no questions. So if you guys have any going forward, if we end this conversation and you think of something, I want you to feel free to email both me and Kristen, or Kristen, and Kristen's writing our email addresses right now, PHELAK@rpi.edu. I make my email really complicated.
Yes.
So, from both of us, we appreciate you. We appreciate that you guys tuned in tonight, and we hope this was an informative experience for you. Good luck with registration, and like we said, stay tuned for those time tickets and get in touch with us if you don't get them by next week. Okay? And I'm going to stop recording, so thank you for everything, and we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll see you at orientation.
Woo! Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I don't know where that button is. Up here?
That's fine.
All right. Peace out.
Stop. And then
We're stop recording.